Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means you are joining us for the Blueprint Power Hour today, where your questions are answered about training, nutrition, supplementation, drugs, sex, rock and roll, everything. Nothing is off topic, and we do get a lot of funny questions from the listeners. Some of them are sent in to onair@superhumanradio.net and then delivered to Coach Rob, where he scheduled it for a future show. And then quite a few of them we answer live on Facebook and YouTube, which we stream the live video to. Not a lot of people watch the live video. It's really funny. But we have a core of devoted Blueprint Army members, let's say, who show up for the shows, and they make the show so much better because they ask great questions, and we have a lot of fun. So stick around. We're going to start that in just a minute. Before we get started, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. Legendary Foods makes a pastry called the Tasty Pastry. It is the first pastry that you can eat without guilt. It has less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high-quality protein. If you're a net carbs person, it's got 5 or less net carbs per. They have amazing flavors. They just came out with chocolate cake. They have blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar, cinnamon, cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, and it goes on, and they're introducing new flavors every single day. And I have not heard from one single person who's tried them and said, these suck. Everyone says, not only are they great, I can't stop eating them, I'm going to buy more. You have to remember, Ron Penna is behind Legendary Foods. He was really the brains, I'd say, behind Quest Nutrition. His wife, Shannon, created what is the Quest bar for her clients when she was a personal trainer. And Ron used to bring them to work, and the guys at work loved them. And he said, these things are unbelievable. Let's go into the bar business. And $1 billion later, Quest exists still today. Legendary Foods is a new type of snack company with a great focus on delivering snacks that benefit and fit into your macros and also are very, very low or non-existent in sugar. The Tasty Pastry originally was supposed to be a Pop-Tart, but it is so much more than that now. With the new flaky, lighter crust, you feel like you're eating a really good piece of pastry. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, use the code SHR10 to save 10% off, and you will be surprised not only how good they are, but how fast your family eats them. Now, if you want to try to win a box, I say win euphemistically. Here's the deal. Listen during the commercial breaks for the secret word. Email the secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net. Be sure to include your mailing address, and I will send you a box for free. Now, don't thank me yet, because I got a feeling you're going to be buying them after that, because they're that good. So pay attention during the commercial breaks. Now, without further delay, let's get my co-host on the show and play his theme music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I am doing great. It is 91 degrees here. It feels like 99, so summer is definitely here.
Is it sunny or rain? Is it cloudy?
No, it's sunny. It's the humidity. It's just it can be just terrible here in the summer, and that's what we got right now. So, but you know what? I'll take it over snow any day.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yep. Now, you have a tasty pastry story.
Oh, I have a testimonial, and it goes like this. I ordered a box of the chocolate cake and a box of the red velvet cake. And my wife popped the red velvet cake in the microwave for about 10 seconds. And I sit down and I bite into this thing, and I am not exaggerating in the least. I would rather eat that particular tasty pastry than any of my, favorite junk foods. I love apple turnovers. I got a chocolate, sweet tooth, et cetera, et cetera. It just throwing the macronutrient profile out from a taste perspective only. They've got it, man. I mean, they have absolutely nailed something special. And I would tell you, instead of waiting to win, just order because you will undoubtedly, I think the same.
So it's interesting. I told you this story off camera, but it's worth mentioning again.
Yeah.
Ron Penner recognized that crappiest foods on the planet were actually engineered to make you want to binge eat them. And he did a lot of research into and consulted with a lot of people in the food industry to discover what it is about a food that makes someone enjoy it so thoroughly that they want more. Because he believed in his heart that if he could make good foods, and everybody's going to say, oh, but it's got red dye in it. Okay. When I say good foods, low in sugar, low in impact carbohydrates in general, because people get way too much in the way of carbs in the American diet today, and high in quality protein, but more importantly, so delicious that you're not eating it because it's healthy. You're eating it because it tastes better than anything that you have available to you. And what you just said shows that when he delved into that and he thought, I'm going to use food science to make healthy stuff taste ridiculously great. So that people, and so what you're saying is you'd rather eat a tasty pastry than a brownie or something that is bad for you, but more importantly, is supposed to be so delicious, and that's why people can't stop eating them. You'd rather eat the tasty pastry.
Any day of the week. Any day of the week. Yeah, they're that good.
And he will, with apple turnover will be a flavor someday up the road, because I kept asking him for apple turnover, and it's on the list. They will be making an apple turnover. I can't wait for that one, to be honest with you.
It tastes so good, it makes you almost forget. It has 19 grams of top-notch protein in it. Or
right.
20 grams of top-notch protein. You won't believe it.
And less than 1 gram of sugar.
Yeah, right.
Sweet it tastes.
Yeah, they've got it, man. They've built a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
No question.
Wonderful product. All right, let's get right to the first question. So Jerry Byers says, I've started intermittent fasting and love what it's doing for me. I'm wondering, though, am I cheating myself out of max muscle growth due to the long periods without food?
Well, just some perspective. I first came across intermittent fasting in an interview that Ori Hofmeckler did with T-Nation back in 98 or 99. If I'm not mistaken. It was and still is referred to as the warrior diet, at least his rendition of it. I would encourage you to pick up both of his books on the topic. For someone who was taught eating 5 to 7 small meals a day was a necessity. If you didn't get 30 grams of protein every 2 hours, you can kiss your muscle goodbye. For somebody who was taught that, those interviews were groundbreaking. You might even call them hearsay, because it smashed just about every sacred cow that there was at the time, which is precisely what drew me to it, I think. Subsequently, I found more information that may have even predated that. And I'm referring to the early days of the internet, a guy by the name of Animal. He had a diet called the Animal Bolics diet. And I remember reading his forum. I don't think he's still around. He used to be famous for his trend conversion kits, I think it was. But in any case, back to intermittent fasting, I've been using some form or another of it for the last 20 years. You, however, have hit upon an important truth, and that truth is this: muscle is most easily built when there is at least I'll call it permissive amount of insulin present. And on the strictest interpretations of intermittent fasting, for around 16 hours a day, insulin is quite low because blood sugar is low. You're fasting. That also, by the way, contributes to its strong fat burning effects. Now, it is true there are all kinds of tricks you can use with amino acids or to elevate insulin, or you can use insulin mimetics like taurine. But long story short, intermittent fasting alone is likely not ideal for maximizing muscle growth and strength,
or fat loss. And I'm gonna make a point after you're done.
So that isn't the whole story, though. I don't think it's the whole story. When used intelligently, intermittent fasting, I believe, can strongly accelerate muscle growth when it's used to magnify frequent feeding, okay, and the associated higher insulin levels. So in plain English, 2 to 3 days of intermittent fasting rotated with 2 to 5 days of higher calories, higher carb, and higher frequency meals works incredibly well. It's something that I've used for a long time. I'm surprised I don't hear about it written more. It just works and works well. Why does it work that way? Well, if all you did was intermittent fasting, you probably become pretty lean, right? But in the process, I think you're going to sacrifice some size. On the other hand, if all you did was eat 5 to 7 small meals a day, you'd probably build a lot of muscle. However, you would also probably lay down more fat than is necessary because you've maintained that fed or overfed state for a long time. So the longer you overfeed, the more active the enzymes become that store fat versus building muscle. And so by periodically going back to intermittent fasting, you get the best of both worlds, at least in my experience. Essentially, in doing so, you are priming your body to maximize every morsel of food that you eat, right? And so what I do is I generally tell guys who are already lean and want a little more muscle is follow a 5-day, 2-day schedule to make it easy for yourself, which is to say small frequent meals, maybe Monday through Friday. Keep an eye on the calories. Don't go too crazy. And then use intermittent fasting on the weekends with lower calories, maybe lower carbs. For guys that are too chubby, right, the other end of the spectrum, you just simply reverse it. Monday through Friday, use some form of intermittent fasting and eat up big on weekends. Now, timing it with exercise and so forth is also very, very powerful. It's outside the context of this discussion. But that's how I would go about it. And that would be my answer to, are you shortchanging yourself? Yeah, quite a bit if you're using it exclusively.
So diets must be aligned with their goals. Okay. The problem we have today is we talk about diets ubiquitously. So if you're an intermittent faster, you're usually doing it for some therapeutic reason. You are trying to slow aging. You're trying to eliminate senescent cells. You're trying to control insulin sensitivity. These are the goals of the intermittent faster. The intermittent faster is an intermittent faster, whether they are fasting for 10 hours or 16 hours. Everybody says, oh, 16 is where the magic is. That's all bullshit. Okay. From an evolutionary perspective, we probably ate up until a couple hours until bedtime, but bedtime was a lot earlier because we didn't have electric light. So we probably ate till 6 or 7 o'clock, and it started getting dark, and we got in our cave and we dozed off. And we even know that sleep was different back then. Maybe you slept for 4 hours and woke up and did a couple things, got back and laid down until sunlight. You weren't going to do anything until sunlight.
Right.
So if you're looking at building muscle, intermittent fasting is not for you. And I'll even go on the record and say that I know people who eat 5 to 7 small meals a day who get leaner than people who are practicing intermittent fasting for years. Very few people who practice intermittent fasting are ripped. They may be leaner than the average American, but very few are ripped. Now, you look at a bodybuilding diet where you're eating frequent small meals, you can get down into single-digit body fat with that meal plan and build muscle. So if your concern is building muscle, then you may want to abandon intermittent fasting and maybe do a long fast once a month, a 2-day fast, to double down on all the benefits for aging and insulin sensitivity. But if you're eating 5 to 7 small meals a day, and I mean small, I'm talking about 250, 300 calories, focusing on 20 to 30 grams of protein and filling in with everything else after that, your insulin is steady all day long because it's going like this all day.
Yeah.
It's not doing this. And keep in mind, that first meal that breaks your fast is the single most important meal of that day. If you do the Gavone thing and eat 1,500 calories that first meal and a lot of carbs, and this is what insulin does, and then it comes down all the way over here, and then the rest of the day it's like this, you defeated the whole purpose of your fast. That one meal. I think that eating up till 3 hours before bedtime and then getting up in the morning and training fasted and having your first meal post-workout is a way to incorporate a moderate fast to a bodybuilding diet. And then after that first meal, every 2.5, 3 hours, you have a small 250 calorie meal 4 or 5 times a day. But again, what are the goals? And then pick the diet that appears to work for the goals. That's the way this should be done. The intermittent fasting isn't a bodybuilding diet. It's just not. It's never going to be. And don't confuse what I just said with training fasted. They're very different things. Dean Paulson says, good stuff. Thanks for the Delta 8 tip. I've been able to control chronic pain. I played rugby for way too many years. Delta 8 with some kratom. Better than any opioids for osteoarthritis. I'll tell you something about the Delta 8. You'll start hearing TV commercials on the show for Knoll Creek Hemp, NOELCREEKHEMP.com. They have the best Delta 8 gummies in pineapple and peach. I take a half to a whole one right an hour and a half before bed. I sleep so good. I don't wake up feeling hungover. I go to the gym and I train. I'm not weaker. Like if it was THC, if it was cannabis, I would feel like crap the whole next day. I'd be weak and lethargic. This Delta 8 stuff is great. Get it while you can, because I have a feeling that it's going to be a godsend for so many people whose sleep sucks. In fact, I got a buddy of mine who's going to do a commercial for this new product. And he was a commercial airline pilot. He hasn't slept good in 35 years. And I got him to start using the Knoll Creek gummies, and he sleeps 8 to 10 hours now. He wakes up at 8 o'clock in the morning. He can't believe it. This is the first time he slept all night long in 35 years.
Yeah, I hear great things too. I think between the pain and the better sleep, it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people.
All right, let's get to the next question. And we're getting questions. Don't forget, every question will be answered. I promise you. So just be patient. Art Barr says, what's your take on cholesterol issues? I have a total cholesterol of around 240. That's nothing. And borderline acceptable LDL levels, according to my doc. He wants to use a statin. Good idea or bad idea?
Well, I will be giving my own personal experience with this issue in the tip of the day, and there's a lot to learn from it. But let's take a look at his issue. So, cholesterol is a fat molecule, absolutely necessary. There's a reason it's in your body. If nothing else, remember this. It's the first step building block in testosterone synthesis, right? Despite that, it's still a feared term. And we rarely hear about why it's so important to health. So here's the other side of it. It's needed to maintain things like neurotransmitter balance and brain function, build brain and nerve tissue. It makes you think and remember better. It's building block of the steroid hormone. It's also, I didn't know this, but apparently it activates vitamin D in the skin. So it's necessary to get that vitamin in the required amounts. So
I want to. This is important that you say this, right? So,
Yeah.
What is the actual term? What is the pharmaceutical term for a statin drug? It's a choleostatin. Choleo is Latin for the term assigned to cholesterol. Cholesterol. Okay.
Yeah.
What is vitamin D3 called? Cholecalciferol. You have to have cholesterol to make vitamin D.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So obviously very, very important stuff, right? So now let's get to your total cholesterol level, 240. A lot of people are going to look at that and say it's high. It'll be flagged on most labs as high. And people will assume that it is a bad thing. More important to me anyway, are HDL levels. It would be hard to argue that single digit HDLs are a good thing. That they're not. But I think of all the numbers, HDL is probably the most important. LDL, so-called bad cholesterol, but again, it belongs there in the body, right? I mean, it wouldn't be there if there wasn't a reason for it. So my first inclination then would not be to hop on a statin. And I've seen this firsthand with my dad. I consider the side effects of those drugs to far outweigh the benefits in almost every case. And here's the kicker. Their own studies show them that people on statins don't live any longer than people who don't use them. Your numbers.
Statins have been shown in numerous studies not to prevent first or second heart attacks. Why are you taking it? You're taking it because they're saying, oh, your cholesterol's high, and that's going to make you have a heart attack. Well, statin drugs have been shown not to prevent first or second heart attack. So remind me why I'm taking it again, Doc. That's why now they say, well, it also is good for inflammation, but that's not why you're prescribing it, Doc.
Yeah, and I've heard people say, yeah, man, those statins have brought my cholesterol down from this to this. Look, just because your numbers go down doesn't mean everybody should celebrate. It's surprisingly not correlated to your risk of heart attack, and I'll discuss what is in a little bit. But rhabdo, memory loss, all these other things are associated with statins. So I see virtually
wait. One thing you missed on.
Yeah.
The Merck paid for a study, but then played it down. That showed that statin drugs increase the likelihood of becoming insulin resistant. Now think about this for a second. Right? Metabolic disease is dyslipidemia, insulin resistant. Well, treating dyslipidemia just speeds you along to becoming insulin resistant. And I will say this, I may be the only person saying this in America today, but the number one killer of Americans today is not heart disease. It's not cancer. It's insulin resistance. It's type 2 diabetes. That heart disease and cancer and kidney failure and high blood pressure and all those other diseases are the effects of insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the number one killer in America today. And why would you take a drug that's going to give you insulin resistance?
Right. So the short answer is don't take it. Right. I'm not buying the fact that it's going to do anything. That's
240 is not that high. First of all, I think 220 is supposed to be the top end. And so you're literally 20 over. It could have been the meal you had the day before. It could have been a variety of things that raised it that much. Number one. Right. Number one. Number two, I just want to throw one other thing out there.
Yep.
The University of Hawaii did 2 watershed studies that no one talks about. They followed people 60 years old and older. They checked their cholesterol at the beginning. There were no interventions. They just followed them. They checked their cholesterol every 5 years for 20 years. The people who died during the study had the lowest cholesterol level.
Yeah. The Framingham Heart Study, which goes back to 1948 and is still ongoing, by the way, came to the same conclusions. So what does that tell you? So if we're not going to use statins, what to do? Well, training, diet, rest, the fundamentals will always be the most powerful and important factors in improving any lipid profile. But also, whenever lipids were brought up on this show over the years, I have always said, it's not total or high cholesterol that'll kill you. It's oxidized cholesterol. And so your intake or not of antioxidant vitamins, minerals, herbs, and so forth matters. I think it matters a hell of a lot. And in the tip of the day, I'm going to give you my personal experience with this issue, which went a step further, which is the real answer to your question. Get a calcium screen done. A calcium screen, look, it's the end game of all of those, that alphabet soup of all of your lipid numbers and high, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. It all means jack if you don't know on the inside of your arteries what's going on. And a calcium screen will check for plaque buildup and, of course, any blockages. It is not covered by insurance. $99 is what I recently paid.
And here's why it's $99. Here's why this is a really great time for everyone in the audience to go out and get a coronal calcium scan. There's a new technology that just came out that's going to take calcium score scanning to a new level. So what happens when the new LG TV comes out? They got to get rid of all the old ones. So these machines that they have right now, they're actually going to be outdated very shortly once the more and more clinics start picking up this new machine. So they're trying to cash in as quickly as possible. They're doing them for $99 nationwide. Every single MRI / clinic where you go to, open CT scans and all, they're all doing the calcium score for $99 right now. This is a great time to get it.
That's what I had. The test I had was an open CT scan. There was an EKG done, I think, simultaneously. It took 2 minutes, and I got the results the same day. Folks, this is really must have information, especially if you're getting up there in years and your lipid profile maybe isn't ideal,
Well, and what about? But look at doctors. Look at look at his doctor. Look at Art's doctor. Yeah. Your cholesterol's high. I think we want to put you on a statin. What he should have said was, your cholesterol high. I think I want a calcium scan. Let's see what's going on and whether or not you need a statin. You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, doc. You're guessing? I thought you're the scientist here. Why don't you send me to get a calcium scan? Because then you'll look and say, oh, you got no plaque buildup. Just keep doing what you're doing. You don't need a statin.
Yep. And so the logical question, why doesn't he just send folks with this test more often? And I'll speak to it later, but you can sum it up in one word: statins.
Yeah,
they make money for a whole lot of people, except the people that are taking
the fact that statins are ineffective at their primary job, which is to prevent heart attacks.
Yep.
Considering that statins actually speed you along to insulin resistance, considering that statin use has been tied to dementia, considering that statin use has been tied to muscle wasting, which is the pox on a person that's aging, because it means that at some point you won't be able to get out of a chair anymore. When you look at how horrible statins are, and then you say, yeah, but they are also anti-inflammatory. Well, so is the friggin' baby aspirin. Like, why would I want to take this drug that has all these horrible effects? Because it's an anti-inflammatory. Because they're trying to repurpose it, because there's a lot of money to be made in statins. Right. And I want to tell you a secret. Get close to your speaker. I don't want to talk too loud. All statins, all science on statins, all new drug developments with statins are compared to one thing. Do you know what the gold standard for managing lipids is? Cholesterol, increasing healthy cholesterol, decreasing bad cholesterol. Do you know what it is? I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody. It's about 5 cents worth of niacin.
Niacin, right.
If you go and get slow release niacin, Sundowner makes it. A lot of people make it. Comes in 500 milligram hard tablets, and it dissolves slowly so you don't get the flushing, but it's real nicotinic acid. It can't be the flush-free niacin. That doesn't work. It's got to be real nicotinic acid or niacinamide, okay? You get the 500 milligram time-release niacin. If your doctor says absolutely, he goes, look, you got some plaque buildup. I want to put you on a statin. Say, no, I don't want to go on a statin. I want to use the gold standard for lipid management. What's that? I want to use niacin. He's going to say, oh, no, you don't want to use niacin. No. Why don't I want to use niacin? All the pharmaceutical companies, when they make a statin drug, the control is niacin. Oh, it works as good as niacin. We can use it. Why would I want something that works as good as niacin if I can take one niacin for 5 cents a day and it's not going to hurt me?
Yeah, I take 2 grams a day. I personally like the flush, so I get the regular. I get the regular.
Well, let me tell you something about the flush. There's something good about the flush. If you're someone who suffers from allergies, though, that flush is from an immediate release of prostaglandins. Yeah. And prostaglandins are what make things you're allergic to bother you. So typically, like if you're someone who has seasonal allergies, if you take real niacin and it gives you a little flush, day 1, day 2, day 3, the flush isn't so bad. Day 4, the flush. Day 5, you don't even get the flush anymore. You've exhausted those natural prostaglandins. So now you're going to notice your allergies don't bother you as much anymore. So that flush is very valuable to some people.
Yeah, it's like you pointed out, and it's cheap as dirt. So, with none of the deadly, literally, side effects of statins.
Your doctor will tell you, oh, niacin is tough on the liver. Oh, statins aren't?
Right.
Yeah. Don't believe that shit, man. I'm so tired of that. And I know that there's an army of sales reps out there pushing niacin on doctors who are pushing it on their patients, and it's garbage. There's so many better ways to correct dyslipidemia and increase good cholesterol and decrease bad cholesterol. And don't forget, inflammation is what causes the tear in the intima of the artery that the plaque then goes to fix. If I come into your home and I punch a hole in the sheetrock and then you spackle it, who created the problem, the spackle or me punching the hole? If I don't punch the hole, you don't need the spackle. If you maintain inflammation in your body to healthy levels and you're not a house on fire like most Americans are, you're not going to have the tear in the intima in the first place that's going to require the plaque to be the spackle in your blood vessels. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more. Don't forget to check out CoachRobRegish.com. Go there today. Be stronger tomorrow. We'll be right back.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Double speak. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. So the next question comes from Tim Tyrell. And then we'll get to some of the live questions. He says, where do you come down on Anadrol 50? Is it as dangerous as everyone says? Right now, my source doesn't have D-ball. And I was wondering if Anadrol would be a better solution. I only run test. Yeah, I'm going to get the rest of this question okay. I only run testosterone. I don't know what it's doing. Oh, I know what I'm doing. My arm is on. I only run testosterone and one oral, by the way. Pretty tame compared to a lot of my friends.
Yeah, well, I'm going to preface this by saying I've never used Anadrol 50. However, I think I can draw somewhat of a comparison, at least, between that and the old methyl 1 test, which was, pulled from the market like 15, 20 years ago. Now, I did know several guys, several of my friends, close friends, that used Anadrol 50 in college, and more than a couple in my gym right now. So having said all that, here's my take on the matter, just looking at it from the outside in. First, Anadrol 50 A-bombs are not exactly a starter bodybuilding drug. Its effects are extremely strong and noticeable. within just the first few days, just like methyl 1 test. Gains of up to a pound a day during the first couple of weeks are actually commonly reported, and methyl 1 test did that too. Obviously, though, that all can't be real muscle. In fact, most of it, right? Most of it is what? Water. Now, be that as it may, while they're using it, even just water inside the muscle cell it makes for a rather dramatic visual effect, right? The person is going to appear much bigger, and at least in clothes. And he's not going to be cut, I don't think, unless he's using other stuff. But that's what
and he may have a pinkish purplish color to his skin.
Yeah.
Everybody that's on Anadrol always has like red flush skin. It looks like they just got finished running a mile.
Yeah, you could revise that and say most. I think.
Yeah,
I think.
And back knee is common,
right.
and shedding of hair is very, very common and very quick. It's.
Right.
I think Anadrol is probably the harshest of all the orals, unless you're looking at methyl trianolone or dianolone, the one that was made from trenbolone, which was horrible and it destroyed your liver in weeks. But I think Anadrol is probably the harshest of all the orals. You do put on weight fast, your blood pressure goes through the roof because of the fluid retention. You get this pinkish purplish color to your skin. You look like you have little volcanoes all over your back with the back knee. I mean, it's pretty harsh. It really is.
Yeah, and I think you summed it up nicely. The negatives, anyway. They're like a lot of other drugs, though. It depends how much you use for how long, right? And how are you eating? The typical dose in the real world is 50 to 150 milligrams for bodybuilding purposes.
Twice a day.
Yeah,
it has a very short half-life, even though it's methylated. It's a very short half-life. Yeah.
But check this out. There was a study looking at 50 milligrams a day of Anadrol versus 100 milligrams a day. And so what they found was the 50 milligram group put on 3.3 kilos of muscle and lost 2.6 of fat. 100 milligrams, 4.2 kilos of muscle and 2.5 of fat.
Diminishing returns.
Yeah. And basically what that means is the 100 milligram group only gained about 1 more kilogram, or 0.9 actually, of muscle versus the 50 group. And that, by the way, was after 3 months of using it. So also of note in that study, the 100 milligram group had AST and ALT levels that were far worse than the 50 milligram group, like much more than double. Now, here's the problem. A lot of these gains go away shortly after discontinuing the drug. Methyl 1 test was the same way. You gain 10 pounds in a week and, maybe another 5 or 10 in the second week. And 3 days after you came off and many bathroom visits, it was all gone. I'm not kidding. Not kidding in the least.
But the truth of the matter was, and I think you'll agree with what I'm about to say, you were happy when it was all gone because the back pumps, the cramping, these drugs that make you pull fluid into the muscle, they disrupt electrolyte levels, calcium channel, potassium channel, magnesium channel. They disrupt them. They cause the fascia to stretch so quickly. I mean, do you remember when people would complain that just standing for a little while, they would get such a severe back pump that they had to sit down because their lower back was cramping?
Yeah. You feel absolutely any drug that's putting a pound a day on, think about it. How are your heart and lungs supposed to catch up? They can't. I mean, it's a real drag. And at least with methyl 1 test, to me, it felt like having low-grade flu and or being stung by a whole hive full of bees. You knew something bad was happening on the inside of your body. And so Anadrol 50, I would put, frankly, in the same bucket. I don't know, and this is what perplexed me about methyl 1 test. I don't know how anyone can use a drug like that to build real long-term muscle for the reasons that I just gave. Both of them, they turn you into a water balloon. I understand why powerlifters use it. I've known tons of guys that have used it. Anadrol and Tren for strength. Those guys, they'll tell you that all day long. But other than, I guess the visual aspect, I just don't like it. I would instead look for less harsh drugs, let's say, if you insist on taking another one, other than just straight test.
I like straight tests. I don't need anything exotic anymore. Mike Davies says, I am 210 pounds. I'm 50 years old, male, with 12% body fat. That's a decent place to be in body fat. That's a really healthy place to be. I've been on TRT for the last 2 years. This one is odd to me, which is Sustanon 250 every 14 days. First of all, Sust is horrible, but I'll give my 2 cc's in a little bit. I've noticed it helps in the gym with recovery, but strength, I haven't noticed much. I was thinking of increasing this to 2 shots per week for 1 to 2 months, combined with an eating plan. My question is this. At 50 years old, is this a bad idea? I've never used any PEDs or hormones until the last 2 years and have been very active my entire life. Go ahead, you go first.
Well, on the positive side, it's testosterone, right? It belongs in your body. Your body knows what to do with it. If levels get too high, if levels get too low, it's not going to be recognized as foreign, and that's where the problems start. The liver tries to, your body tries to eliminate it. It's chemically modified to survive first pass liver metabolism, and then we have problems. 12% is an honest body fat measurement too, and it's really exceptional for anyone, but certainly a guy his age. Doubling up on it to see if your strength goes up, personally, I wouldn't do it, and I'll tell you why. I too am one of these guys where it didn't matter what I took, literally. Testosterone, methyl 1 test when that was around. I've never used a drug that radically affected my strength, going up, coming off, and then going down. Never. And maybe that's all just up here, but I honestly believe there is a subset of guys that is true for. And so chasing higher doses, especially at age 51, 52, probably not the best thing, right? Especially if you don't know, or if you have a family history rather of heart disease, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. The whole shtick, right, with taking more is I'm going to get big. Well, yeah, you're going to gain weight, and then your blood pressure is going to go up. And you start combining things like mega doses of caffeine pre-workouts and a 20-pound weight gain and high blood pressure. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when bad things are going to happen. So that's my 2 cents.
So Sustanon, unless I'm wrong, and I'm looking for this to make sure that what I'm about to say is accurate. I'm under the understanding that Sustanon is a blend of 3 different. Yeah, it is. So Sustanon is a blend of 4 different forms of testosterone. Testosterone propionate, which has a 1.5 to 3 day life in the body. Testosterone phenylpropionate, slightly longer. Testosterone isocaproate, which is kind of similar to testosterone enanthate in its length of delivery, and then testosterone decoinate, which delivers for a month.
Nice.
This is not HRT between you and me. And if your doctor thinks this is HRT, I'm sorry to say this. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be insulting, but if your doctor thinks that this is HRT, he's an idiot.
Yeah, Sustanon isn't even an approved.
First of all, back in the day, guys used to complain about Sustanon giving them fever-like side effects, because when you have these 4 different testosterones releasing at different rates, testosterone has downstream metabolites. Like methyl testosterone turns into methyl estrogen, not just regular estrogen. So when you have these different derivatives of testosterone, the downstream metabolites are different as well. It's not like it turns into DHT. It turns into a different form of DHT, a different form of estrogen. And so having these 4 different types of testosterone in one shot is actually not natural to the body. Not natural to the body. Not a good idea. You could take each of these individually, the body will be able to handle it. But when you give it all 4, and you have some testosterone releasing fast and less estradiol, some releasing really slow and a lot more estradiol, I mean, this is a bad idea for HRT. You'd be better off on testosterone cypionate or an anthate at 250 milligrams a week. A week. See, I'm getting into this with a doctor right now about a woman who contacted me. She's on testosterone and she's taking troches, and the troches aren't absorbing the way they should, and her testosterone levels were 20, even though she's taking a 4 milligram troche every day. So he moved her to injections. He moved her to injections of a testosterone cypionate at 100 milligrams a milliliter, and he wants her to take 1/10 of a milliliter twice a week. That's 10 milligrams of testosterone twice a week. And in his brain, which doesn't understand the pharmacodynamics of these esters, well, that's 20 milligrams a week. That's really good for a woman. But it's not, because testosterone cypionate and anthate and any of these, the longer acting ones, but let's say an anthate and cypionate, it takes 28 days for that testosterone to be delivered. And it's not linear. It's not like if I give you 10 milligrams, no. If I give you 28 milligrams of testosterone and anthate, you're going to get 1 milligram a day over 28 days. No, you get 50% of the dose in the first 4 days. And then the balance of the dose over the next 24 days. So you see what the problem is with this? When you give somebody testosterone, 250 milligrams of testosterone a week, an anthate or cypionate, and it takes 28 days to actually deliver everything, and 50% of it is delivered in the first 4 days. You see the problem? 250 milligrams a week is not too much for a man. And the reality is, it's really what you need to give him in order to get him into that 1,000, 1,200 picogram, nanogram a deciliter range that everyone wants to put the man, because it's not delivering in 1 week. But the truth of the matter is this: number one, your training will influence if you're getting stronger. So I would look at your training. Maybe you need to start doing a 5x5 program or something that actually is designed to increase strength, and forget about the hormone giving you more strength. And definitely get off the Cestanon and tell your doctor you want to be on testosterone cypionate only at 250 milligrams a week. And if he says, no, that's too much, say, doc, testosterone cypionate has a 28-day release. You get 50% of it in the first 4 days, and then the other 50% over 24 days. I'm not getting the whole 250 milligrams in a week. Oh, here, wait, he put something else up here. Currently, the doctor only has access to Nebido and Sustanon. And Nebido is the longest acting one. That one is once every 6 months. That one makes more estrogen. So just remember this: the slower the testosterone release, the more estrogen it creates. Nebido makes a ton of estrogen. You'll have to be on an AI if you use Nebido. I would find a different doctor. I just start buying testosterone cypionate from the black market. Personally, that's what I would do. I really would, because you don't want Sustanon. You just don't. And your doctor doesn't understand HRT if he thinks that Sustanon is a suitable injectable for hormone replacement therapy for men. I'm sorry. We have to take a break. When we come back, we have more questions. You're watching and listening to the Blueprint Power Hour. You can go to CoachRobRegish.com to learn more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that, do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Double speak. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose. Like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Hey, welcome back. Mike Davies said, thank you very much for the feedback. And of course. And I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I know what I'm talking about here more than your doctor does. And he'll get pissed off at me if I said that to his face, but it's the truth. Because your doctor doesn't understand the pharmacodynamics of these drugs. He just prescribes them. That's all he does. All right, so the next question comes from, hold on. Sorry about that. Ron Rindels. He says, I'm doing 20 rep breathing squats and growing like crazy. Only wish I'd trained them sooner. Still, my hamstrings are lagging. How do I get them to catch up to my quads?
Yeah, weak hamstrings are a common problem, right? Usually, given the number of quad dominant position or movements rather, and people in general are quad dominant and not so much for the hamstrings. To me, they suffer from the same problem that the rest of the muscles on the backside of the body do. People don't see them in the mirror, so they don't train them at least as much or as hard as the ones that they can. There is a peculiarity here, at least with the squat, that you need to be aware of, and it's something called Lombard's paradox. Lombard's paradox describes this paradoxical muscular contraction in humans. And so when you rise up to stand from a sitting or a squatting position, both the hamstrings and quadriceps contract at the same time, despite them being antagonists of each other. So you will always be working your hamstrings, at least to some degree, anytime that you're performing that squatting motion. Now, having said that, if there's one area where people can gain and gain fast and substantially, it's usually when they make a concerted effort to bring their hamstrings up. So the question becomes, how do I do that? Which movements? First thing I tell you is a wide stance squat, as you see in Westside's box squats, is going to work your posterior chain much harder than your quads, right? So glutes, hams, and lower back with a wide stance are what's going to be emphasized. You may also, for example, have 2 20-rep squat days, one with a regular shoulder width stance and another with a very wide stance. Interesting dynamic there. I've done it. I'd be curious to know, or if he does it, what he notices. But there are also a wide variety of other movements, such as the reverse hyperextension, either with a small amount of weight or a band or both. Tremendous hamstring development. It has to be felt to be believed, especially with the band. That's also a very safe form of training your hamstrings, is there is no vertical compression of the spine as there is in the squat and other movements. The glute ham raise, if your gym has one, is also another, excellent movement. And after you master body weight, which is a challenge, believe me, even for the strongest guys, you can use a mini band, right? Mini band or 2, which provide resistance. That's another way to bring the hams up. Bridging of all sorts will develop very strong symmetrical hamstring development. It's overlooked. People can't really understand it. They don't get it, but it's the truth. Wide stance belt squats, wide stance leverage squats, barbell glute bridges, right? Huge one. All of those things, to me, are favorites insofar as working the hamstring. The glute ham bridge, in particular, is kind of like the reverse hyper. There's no vertical compression of the spine, right? Or very little. And you can use a ton of weight, which is good because the more weight, the more overload. Sprinting, if you're young enough and can do it without being injured, also, figures mightily in hamstring development. So if you can sprint, do it twice a week for your conditioning. You're going to notice some really cool things, not just with your hamstrings, but also with body fat levels lowering without doing anything else, really.
And one thing to inject, we talked about this on a show last year. Sprinting reduces visceral body fat. The visceral body fat is the result of insulin resistance when you get that distended stomach. Sprinting, whether you sprint on a bicycle or you sprint on your feet, over time will give you a flatter abs.
And that's exactly what I noticed when I was sprinting twice a week. It only took about 2 or 3 weeks at the most, and my waist was down noticeably. And that's the only thing that I did differently was sprints. So do them if you can. One other good, very good, low risk hamstring exercise is step ups onto a high or higher box. Okay. The higher the step, the more the glutes and hams are activated. You can do that using either body weight or, holding weights at your side. It is dynamite for hamstring development. And as an added bonus, and trust me on this, you won't need to do cardio after working those hard enough. Step-ups are grueling, and not just from the muscle perspective. The heart and lungs get more than a tickle in the process. So give those suggestions a try. I'm betting your hams will come up to speed fast, particularly if you're sprinting and have a reverse hyper.
I think that pushing a heavy sled,
Yep.
is really beneficial to the hamstrings too. You feel it in your hamstrings.
Yep.
You're pushing that sled, your hams and your glutes, your lower back are doing more of the work when the knee is bent.
Right.
When you're bringing that foot close to the sled and pushing that foot down to extend it out, that's all hamstring and glute, all of it. It's not the quads. Quads are barely doing anything except stabilizing the knee at that point in time.
Yeah.
So do you think sprinting on a bike is as good as sprinting on a hill or sprinting on the ground?
No.
You think like what about the Schwinn Airdyne? I've got that Airdyne where your hands.
Better than a regular stationary bike. That'll certainly get your heart and lungs going. But as far as hamstring development compared to sprints, no. So I mean, sprints they're pretty much at the top of the food chain. Yeah, for a number of reasons that we discussed.
It's funny because it's a evolutionary gift that we've lost.
Right. And
being able to run really fast and it like a burst of speed to get away from something. And most people can't do it anymore. Right.
And or you get so old, you start pulling hamstrings or worse. However, it doesn't mean you can't sprint up hills. Or at least
and start out slower, right? Just start out sprinting. Do your sprints gently. Start out sprinting gently before you start trying to unleash the dogs.
Right.
We're going to take. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I've done it sprinting with a sled tethered to a sled, and that seemed to work too.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day, and we're going to actually be talking about cholesterol and statin drugs. Very, very fascinating discussion, I can promise you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Double speak. Every day there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. Hey, I got my blood work back from Inside Tracker.
Oh, yeah?
Guess what my testosterone levels are?
I don't know, 1,500, 2,000.
4785.
Your doctor will like that.
And Elisa looked at them and she goes, "Why are your testosterone levels that high?" And I said, "Well, I use a little bit more testosterone than the HRT prescribed dose." She says, "How much?" I said, "Just double." And think about this. I'm taking 500 milligrams of testosterone cypionate a week. And my levels are almost 5,000 at just 500. So, I mean, and that's because as we age, men's livers actually down-regulate testosterone receptors to conserve testosterone. Right. There was a study that showed young men and old men given the same exact dose of testosterone, and the rise in total testosterone in the older men was close to twice that of the young men. And that's because from an evolutionary perspective, we conserve more testosterone. But I took 3 weeks off of any testosterone, and I just gave myself a shot this morning of 250 milligrams. I'm just going to do 250 for now till, I don't know, foreseeable future.
Right.
Yeah, that's just too high. 47. There's no need for that. It's not doing anything special for me. So
I thought you were going to say the scale doesn't go that. It didn't register because it was so high.
Well, the truth of the matter is most testosterone assays stop at 2,500.
Yeah.
So it would have just said, the delta to the right greater than 2,500. But they test all the way up to like 5,000, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you're almost there. Funny stuff. So the tip of the day this week, it's a little long, but it's really, really important. And I think sooner or later, everybody listening is going to be dealing with this. So what is it? It has to do with cholesterol, statins, keeping the pipes clean, and what you really need to know for superhuman health. Now, we talk a lot about maximizing human performance on this show, right? With good reason. Done correctly, your combined efforts concerning training, diet, rest, supplements, drugs should also result in superior underlying health. And when it comes to health, there's a lot of confusion concerning lipids, right? At some point, your doctor, usually during the physical, once a year physical, he's going to order comprehensive, what most would consider comprehensive blood work. And lipids are going to be highlighted as one of the big deals on there. The problem is this. We've all been conditioned that above a certain level, let's say total cholesterol, above 200, you got high cholesterol. And we've all been conditioned to think high cholesterol equals eventually arteriosclerosis, heart disease, and heart attacks and death. I'm going to give you an alternative viewpoint, and I can back it up with plenty of science. I'm also going to approach this from my own perspective because I literally went through this the last couple of weeks. So my total cholesterol usually runs a little bit over 200. 216 is what I saw. I went back and looked on my last set of labs. My LDLs, which should be, I think, under 100, at least on the scale that they were using, were actually 130. My HDL score was exceptional, and it always has been, coming in at 68, whereas anything above 40 is considered desirable. Triglycerides were in check. Overall cholesterol ratio was in line. And so imagine my surprise when my doctor still had some concerns. He was somewhat alarmist, but I wasn't rattled by it. In fact, I took it all in stride. And seeing that, he was looking at me going, do you understand what we're talking about here? He says, we're talking about your heart. And for once, I was in a rush. I just wanted to get out of there. For once, I didn't bite, right? I just went with the flow and let him do his thing. And his next thing was ordering an EKG, which he did right there in the office. So the girl comes in, she wires me up, does the EKG, leaves. I'm sitting in the office waiting for the doc. Now, I've had EKGs done before. Almost every one has echoed what the last woman said, which was, you got the heart of a horse, right? Incredible. No issues whatsoever. So imagine my surprise when he comes in like 10 minutes later and he says, I'm sending you for a stress test and a calcium screen. And so I said, why? And he popped up a picture of my heart or a heart. I'm assuming it was mine. And he circled this little shaded area in the, I can't remember if it was upper left or upper right. But he circles it and he says, you see this? It might be something. And so, I sat there and I listened for a few more minutes. And finally, I think I got the gist of it. What he was talking about was athlete's heart. He's definitely not used to working with athletes, and wanted to send me on for these tests, quote unquote, just to make sure. So think about it from his perspective. He sees this coupled with what some people would consider to be less than ideal lipid panel. He's going to look into things further. I said, great, right? And so just last Friday, I had the calcium screen. Now, this test is really the end game of a lot of blood work. It's especially a lipid panel, which is to say you can talk all day about high cholesterol, low cholesterol, HDL, LDL, EIO. None of it really matters unless you know what's going on in your arteries, right? Plaque buildup or calcification of the arteries. And so on a scale of 1 to 400, 1 being the least amount of plaque, I scored a big fat 0, which is great for me. But what does that mean for you, right? Like, how did I get there? How did I do this? I'll give you several things, but right off the top, I'll be honest and tell you my adherence to fundamentals over not just years, but decades, I think explains most of it. I've always trained hard. I could have trained smarter, but I've always trained hard and consistently. I've been using intermittent fasting, a version of it anyway, on and off for about 20 years, which may have led to autophagy and other things that helped. I've also, in recent years, been on a much lower carb diet. I've insisted on 9 hours of sleep a night. And yes, I have, I guess, what you would consider good genes. There's no heart disease in the family. So I'll tip my hat and say that matters too. But there is something else, and something that I've consistently brought this point up whenever cholesterol has been brought up. It is not high cholesterol that'll kill you. it's oxidized cholesterol. And the calcium screen is going to tell you how much you're oxidizing and whether or not there are blockages, and if so, how bad they are. How did I get here? I have used antioxidants, liberal amounts of antioxidants, since my early 20s. Something that I distinctly remember my father told me I was wasting my time with. And so at the time I was using a product called Viosilate from AST, then innovative AST Research. And it was essentially a powdered antioxidant formula to be used, I think it was post-workout. And I explained oxidation to him with the typical, cut an apple in half, set it out. The browning represents oxidation. And that ties in pretty strongly with aging, okay? He told me in no uncertain terms that anything I did for that before age 40 was just waste of money, which it struck me as odd then, and it strikes me as odd now, because in my opinion, every day past about the age of 21, you're aging, right? And so in my mind, it logically follows that anything that you can do to delay the oxidative damage that contributes to aging at 22 and thereafter is going to see you in much better shape at age 30, 40, and 50 when he was proposing, you maybe use them then. No, you use them early and you use them to your advantage. Ironically enough, I've never heard of a doctor talking about oxidized cholesterol, not once. I'm sure it happened somewhere, but from what I can see, not on any wide scale, which is perplexing because the Framingham Heart Study started in 1948 and still ongoing, by the way, 3 generations of in a family later in some cases, makes all of this perfectly clear. It's no mystery. With the internet, it's out there for anybody to read now, and you don't need to be a doctor to understand the findings. You need to understand that the blood work that the doc is typically going to order for lipids isn't going to tell you anything about oxidation. Again, that test is the calcium screen. And if you're north of 40, your doc may be agreeable to it. Incredibly, it is not covered by insurance, most insurance plans, or at least that's what I was told. Now, think about this for a minute. They're going to cover all kinds of blood work to look at lipids and God knows what else. But they refuse to cover a test that tells you what's really going on. And why might that be so? Well, like I said earlier, you can sum it up in one word: statins, right? Which are one of, if not the most, at one point anyway, they were the most prescribed drug in America. Here's why. And I suspect here's why this test, which only costs $99 and is money well spent, in my opinion, is rarely used. Statins make a lot of people a lot of money. Doctors, big pharma, pharmacies, insurance companies, everyone gets their cut, except, of course, the person taking statins. It's usually put forth as for life too, which is awful convenient since everyone but you keeps making money off it. You're periodically going to have to see your doctor so that he can keep prescribing it. Ka-ching. He writes the prescription, which creates the demand for big pharma to make it. There's their cut. And you're going to get it filled. You're going to go to a pharmacy to get it filled. They're getting their cut. Now, don't forget the insurance company. A lot of plans cover it. And trust me when I tell you this, because I worked for 2 of them. The insurance company wouldn't be doing it if they weren't making money. Okay. So they make money too. Are you getting the picture now? Statins are an instant annuity, constant income stream for everyone but you that's taking it. And what is it all predicated on? High cholesterol is bad cholesterol, and that'll lead to blockages. So here's your script, Mr. Regish. Go get your statins. We'll see you until they put you in the ground. Thank you very much. Look, if you're in that position, you got high cholesterol, and the doc pitches you on statins, right? Demand the calcium screen instead. True, it's not covered by insurance, but I mean, come on, for less than $100, it is money very well spent. And you know, after I got it done, I thought about my friend Doug, who died 2 years ago around this time. It probably would have saved his life because they would have seen the blockage. He had a massive heart attack, apparently. So, you know, that's a big, big deal. Next month in the bulletin, I'm going to have some stuff about my complete supplement protocol that I used and have been using for years for antioxidant and anti-aging purposes. I've also discovered a new compound that does almost everything. Raises HDLs, lowers LDLs. It'll bring the total down if that's what your doctor's concerned with. It improves insulin sensitivity, the whole 9 yards. So that'll be in there too. As part of a comprehensive plan, I honestly believe that using these antioxidants and other nutrients will add years to your life as well as life to your years. Whatever you do, don't buy into the high cholesterol scam. Use your critical thinking skills to guide you, right? Guide your own healthcare efforts. You will almost always be a healthier person for it. And that's what's going on with cholesterol and arteries. And that's been my story. I hope yours turns out just as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Don't forget to go to CoachRobRegish.com today. Sign up for the Blueprint Bulletin so you can get some of the information that Rob was just talking about. That's it for today. Thanks for being here. Share the show. Please share the show. And we'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Take care.
Cool. Thanks.